Hello everyone, we are at the last part of our lesson on functions. Previously, we have discussed functions, representations of functions, and evaluation of functions, as well as operations on functions and composition of functions. Putting all of this that we have learned together, this time we are going to solve problems involving functions. Let's begin. Our learning competency for this lesson is to solve problems involving functions. Our learning objectives are identify what are given and what is asked in the problem, solve problems involving functions, and to demonstrate cooperation in group activities. As a review, I would like you to answer the following 5 questions. Please hit the pause button to give you enough time to answer and hit play when you're ready to check. Have you already answered all of the questions? Let's check. Number 1. What is the result of f plus g of x when f of x is equal to 3x plus 4 and gx is equal to x minus 5? F plus g of x is equal to 4x minus 1. Did you get that right? Remember to combine like terms. That means adding up 3x and x and positive 4 and negative 5. Number 2. What is f minus g of x when given f of x is equal to 4x squared plus 4x minus 6 and g of x is equal to 3x squared plus 2x minus 3? If you got x squared plus 2x minus 3, then you're correct. Again, you have to combine like terms, but in this case, you have to distribute the negative sign. So when you add 4x squared, you should add it to negative 3x squared. And when you add 4x, you should add it to negative 2x. Similarly, adding negative 6 should be to positive 3. Therefore, we get the answer x squared plus 2x minus 3. F times g of x will be equal to blank if f of x is equal to x plus 2 and g of x is equal to x. You just simply multiply the first function to the second function. We get x squared plus 2x. F over g of x is equal to blank when f of x is 5x and g of x is x. Dividing both functions, 5x over x, you get the answer 5. F of g of x is blank when f of x is equal to x minus 7 and g of x is equal to 2x plus 1. In this case, you have to substitute the x variable in f of x with the entire g of x, which is 2x plus 1, giving you 2x plus 1 minus 7, which is 2x minus 6. I hope you got that right. This was discussed in the previous lesson on operations of functions and composition of functions. Do you remember the real-life situation I shared to you last time wherein operation of functions can be applied? Let us recall that this was the problem I gave you last time. Mathematics has 2 jobs to attend to in a day. He works for 4 hours as a cook in a carinderia, and his pay for such is defined as f of x is equal to 200x. In the afternoon, he also works for the same number of hours as English tutor to the Koreans, and his pay is described as g of x is equal to 500x. If you would be asked, how much does Matt earn in a day? What do you do to solve this problem? Let me give you a hint on how to go about this problem. In dealing with real-life problems, it is best to first understand the problem, second, identify what are given, what is asked, and what operation to use, so that the problem can be represented correctly with the use of functions. So going back, previously we also answered that to solve this problem, we need to add his pay from the carinderia and his pay from being a tutor. Let's say, for example, we solve the first function. We need to evaluate f of x, which is 200x or 200 times 4. That gives us his pay as a cook in the carinderia, which is 800. Then we can also evaluate the second function, g of x, with the same number of hours, which is 4 hours. That gives us 500 times 4, which is 2,000. Adding up both, we get 800 plus 2,000, which is 2,800. Or you can do it the other way. You can add first both functions under operations of functions in addition, and then later on evaluating the resulting sum. We can have 200x plus 500x, which is 700x. And since x is 4, 700x is 2,800. Was that clear? I hope so. Let us try to do the following activities for you to be able to really understand how to illustrate or how to solve real-life situations or real-life problems involving functions. Let us answer the following. A proposed train fare would charge 20 pesos for the first 5 kilometers of travel and 75 cents for each additional kilometer over the proposed fare. A. Find the fare function f of x, where x represents the number of kilometers traveled, and find the proposed fare for a distance of 45 kilometers. If you would analyze this problem, for if you are just going to travel for the first 5 kilometers, you will just have to pay 20 pesos, irregardless if you travel just 1 or the total amount of 5. For each additional kilometer, you would add 75 cents. Can you tell me the fare function f of x? You're right. It's f of x is equal to 20 if x is greater than 0 or less than or equal to 5. And 20 plus 0.75 times x minus 5 if x is greater than 5, because of course we are going just to count the number of kilometers exceeding 5. Therefore, the fare function f of x, this is a piecewise function. Using the piecewise function, we can find letter B, the proposed fare for a distance of 45 kilometers. Since this is already more than 5, then we can use the second condition in the piecewise function. 20 plus 0.75 times x minus 5, or 20 plus 0.75 times 45 minus 5. That becomes 20 plus 0.75 times 40. 0.75 times 40 is 30. 20 plus 30 equals 50. So for 45 kilometers, the train fare that you would have to pay would be 50 pesos. I hope that was clear to you. This time, in the second item, I want you to answer it on your own. Read the problem carefully and try to give your answer. Write it down in your notebook. Have you written down your answers? Let's check. Kamao Network charges 500 pesos monthly cable connection fee plus 125 pesos for each hour of pay-per-view (PPV) event regardless of a full hour or a fraction of an hour. Construct a table of values that will show a mode of payment for customers who may spend each number of hours in watching PPV events. The table shown shows the number of hours spent in PPV plus the fixed monthly connection fee, the amount of PPV to pay, and the total payment. If you just use 1 hour, then you will have to pay 500 pesos for the monthly cable connection fee, an amount for PPV worth 125 for a total payment of 625. If you use 2 hours, then you would still have to pay the fixed monthly cable connection fee, which is 500, and twice the amount of PPV, which is 250. Therefore, your total payment will have to be 750. If it's 5 hours, then you will have to pay 1,125. What is the monthly bill of a customer who watched 10 hours of PPV events? Then we can say that the function for this real-life situation is f of x is equal to 500 plus 125x. Since we are asked for the monthly bill of the customer using the PPV for 10 hours, then we substitute x with 10. We get 500 plus 125 times 10, or 500 plus 1,250, which is 1,750. What about the monthly bill of a customer who watched 6.2 hours of PPV events? Remember that 125 is for each hour, regardless if it's a full hour or a fraction thereof. Therefore, we need to use 7. We need to evaluate the function when x is 7. Therefore, f of 7 is equal to 1,375. For letter D, sketch a graph that will show a mode of payment for customers who may spend H hours in watching PPV events. On your screen, you can see that for a fraction, that for each hour, you can see how much he will pay with an open circle at the start of the graph and a closed circle at the end of a graph. It looks like a ladder. Of course, with increased hours in watching PPV, the amount that you will have to pay will also increase. But it should be within the hour, irregardless if it's just a fraction thereof. I hope you get that right. Lastly, answer the last problem. Third problem, I want you to answer this. Suppose the production cost of a locally produced wallet can be approximated with the model W of P is equal to 4 times 3P plus 25, where P is the number of wallets. A. Find the fixed cost. Letter B. Find the cost of 5 wallets. And letter C. How many wallets that will cost 220 pesos. I want you to think very hard. Answer this with enough time as you need, and then check your answers afterwards. Finding the fixed cost would mean evaluating the function with P equals 0. Therefore, W of 0 is equal to 100. Finding the cost of 5 wallets is like evaluating the function with P equals 5. Therefore, W of 5 is equal to 160. How many wallets will cost 220? You substitute W of P with 220 and solve for P. P is equal. With the 3 activities plus 1 review activity that we had, I hope that you now know how to illustrate real-life problems with functions to be able to solve them mathematically. This activity I will give to you, and please let your teacher check this personally. If I pay 1,000 pesos for my first day stay in a hotel and pay additional 200 for every bed that I request per day, how much do I pay in total if I stay for 3 days and requested 3 beds for the whole stay? Think very hard. Make sure the function that represents the problem is correct so that when you evaluate it, you will get the correct answer. God bless. Evaluation. Brian charges 25 pesos for every page of encoding work. In addition, he charges 8 pesos per page of printed output. How much will Brian charge for a 33-page encoding and printed work? Number 2. A mall charges 25 pesos for the first hour or a fraction of an hour as parking fee. An additional 25 is charged for every additional hour, or a fraction of an hour of parking. The parking area operates from 7 a.m. to 12 midnight every day? Letter A. Write a function rule for the problem. How much will be charged to a car owner who parked a car from 7 a.m. to 1:30 p.m.? And letter C. How much will be charged to a car owner who parked a car from 8:30 a.m. to 11:15 p.m.? Please take time to solve and show your teacher your answer. Good luck! The whole journey for learning about functions is a mix of what you have previously known and what you just known. Mastery takes place when you practice and when you try to do your best. Individual learning works best when you try your best to give the answer. Asking your classmates or asking your teacher is secondary. I hope this gets you prepared for your upcoming summative exam. You can watch the 3 videos again and again to be able to prepare for this exam. Our next set of lessons will be all about rational functions. Once again, this is Teacher Carrie. See you next time.